put that song on, forget it. You do not want to see me dancing. I thank Bill for his introduction and for inviting me here, and thank all of you for coming. I'm going to leave some time at the end of this for you to ask me questions about whatever on your mind on this issue or other issues that you might want to ask me about. But let's start off with, how did we get here? You know, when I became governor, New Jersey was in, as the rest of the country was, the throes of an awful economic recession. And that economic recession hit our gaming industry as hard or even harder than the other industries we have in our state. And we needed to try to find some new ways to bring some new energy to Atlantic City and to the gaming industry. And it always seemed absolutely ridiculous to me that we did not permit sports gaming in this country anywhere but here in the state of Nevada. And I went to my Attorney General and said, why don't we do something about this? Wound up recruiting some folks in the state legislature to pass a bill, and everybody told me that there was no way that we would be able to do it. I said, well, let's just give it a shot. Let's see how they react. So we passed legislation, I signed it, and we saw how they reacted. The NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, and the NCAA all immediately filed suit against us. One of the keys to the ultimate result we got was the decision we made right at the beginning. Before I signed the legislation, I really believed that we were going to wind up at the United States Supreme Court. And if you're going to wind up at the United States Supreme Court, in my opinion, in this generation, there's only one person you want to hire to have representing you in front of the United States Supreme Court. And that's Ted Olson, who, by the way, also just happened to elect the president as well in front of the Supreme Court in 2000. And his extraordinary record, he's argued more than any lawyer alive in front of the US Supreme Court 62 times. And his winning percentage is 75%. So I think any of us would like that. And I thought, when I called Ted Olson, he's got to tell me that the leagues have already hired him. It can't possibly be, with all the money of the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball and the NHL and the NCAA, that they would actually let little old New Jersey get Ted Olson. So before I signed the legislation, I called Ted and I said, are you available or do you have a conflict? And he said, I have no conflict. Those were the 4 words that led to sports gaming in America. I have no conflict. Because I had Ted Olson. Now, I thought I'd win right away. It didn't hardly turn out that way. We went to the district court, and the district court found for the leagues and put an injunction against us starting sports gaming. We went to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. They found in favor of the leagues. We filed for cert or certiorari for the US Supreme Court. They denied it. And we then went and changed the law to change it in the way that the Third Circuit said would be permissible for us to do it. So we changed it exactly the way the opinion told us. And I signed that one into law. And then they sued us again. And the district court found for the leagues and filed an injunction again. We went to the very same circuit court, not just the same circuit, the same panel, the same 3 judges who had told us, if you do it this way, this is okay. We did it that way. And they said, never mind. We didn't mean that. We didn't think you'd actually do it. These people obviously had never met me. We didn't think you'd actually do it. But that time, there was a dissent. One of the 3 judges said, wait a second. This isn't fair. We told them they could do it this way. They did it this way, and now we're telling them they can't do it. So he dissented. Now, that means we had lost a total of, and we tried to go en banc, which is the full Circuit Court of Appeals. They denied us. So that means we had lost 6 times. After we lost for the 6th time, Ted Olson called me to tell me we had lost for the 6th time. And let me just say this, it's all public record what Ted's fees were in this matter. But let's just say we didn't pay what we paid to go 0-6. And so we were 0-6, and Ted said, I'm almost embarrassed to say this to you, but I think if we take one more shot at the Supreme Court, we can actually win this thing. And I hesitated. I said to him, hell man, I'm 0-6 over the last 4 years. What do I have to lose? 0-7? Let's go. Let's do it. And it was that time that the Supreme Court, as you know, took the case. And I remember that December of 2017, sitting in the front row of the United States Supreme Court when they called their first case, Christie versus the NCAA. Now, growing up as an athlete, I always thought my name would be associated with the NCAA in a different way. But if it had to be suing them, that's okay. And so they announced that case, and really, about 10 minutes into the argument for the leagues, we knew we were going to win. And it was an incredible feeling to be sitting there and watching the arguments that we had been making on behalf of the people of our state for nearly 4 years, being adopted by justice after justice after justice, and ultimately, in the result of the case, we got 7 of the 9 justices. And in today's Supreme Court, to get 7 of the 9 to agree on anything is pretty good stuff in a divided country with a divided court. The reason I always felt so strongly about this was because I always believed that the states had the right to determine this issue for themselves. If they want to have sports gaming in their state, and the people of their state, as the people of my state voted, over 65% that they wanted legal sports gaming in their state, they should be able to have it. They don't need Big Brother in Washington, D.C., or 4 professional sports leagues on Park Avenue in New York telling them what they could do, what they couldn't do, what they were responsible enough to handle, and what they weren't responsible enough to handle. And quite frankly, I think the whole thing was insulting. Insulting to the people of this country who have the right to make these decisions through their elected officials. And they were making those decisions. And now you can see what's happened since then. Let's talk about what's happened since then. This is exploding all over the country because people want to have the opportunity to bet on these games that mean so much to the fabric and the culture of our country. It brings an extra level of involvement, an extra level of enjoyment to them, and they should have the right to decide whether they want to participate or they don't, and they shouldn't have to risk going to illegal, sketchy, offshore websites to be able to do it. And a few myths that came about when we were pushing for this. One, the leagues talked about the concept that we were going to impair the integrity of the games. Now, imagine they made this argument with a straight face. I remember saying to 2 of the commissioners one day, when I ran into them at a restaurant in New York City, while the litigation was going on, I'm like, impair the integrity. You're saying that if the state of New Jersey runs sports gaming in a regulated fashion through our casino partners, that will impair the integrity. But when the mafia and illegal offshore business people run it, there's no problem with the integrity of the game. I remember saying to Roger Goodell one day, why do you advertise the point spreads? The point spreads have nothing to do with football, do they? But you let the point spreads be known. In fact, you have conformed your entire reporting of injuries to betting. How you report them, how you characterize them, when you report them, who gets to know about them. Everything in the NFL regarding injuries is all conformed to betting. Yet you're denying to me that betting is going on. They had no answers. In fact, I believe the integrity of the sports will be protected even more the more we push the illegal operators out of this business and have regulated operators who understand that they have their license on the line every time they make decisions in this regard, than we ever will be by allowing organized crime and offshore business folks deciding how they deal with the money that people bet and how they enforce the rules and the laws of betting. Second myth was that this would put our casino partners in the States out of business, that we would do real damage to our partners in the casino industry. Now, New Jersey had as big an investment as any state in the country in protecting our brick and mortar casino partners. But you heard from any number of people that, oh, if this were allowed, this would be awful for those partners, and we'd be undercutting people who had invested in our state. Well, first off, we now see what's happened in the last year, and we know that that was absolutely wrong. But I'll also tell you a little bit later in the talk that there are steps that states can take to make sure it doesn't happen. And that we did that in New Jersey, and they're doing it in other states. And what it's done is not diminish the role of our casino partners in our states, it's enhanced it. And in fact, it's expanded their investment. You look at a place like New Jersey and you see, for the first time in a long time, increased capital investment from our casino partners in their buildings in New Jersey. Modernizing them, expanding, building brand new, state-of-the-art sports books that become destinations for people to go and enjoy sports and enjoy the experience of sports gaming and other gaming that's offered inside the casinos. In my view, it's had the exact opposite effect of what the myth makers tried to lead you to believe when we're in the midst of this fight. It has not hurt the brick and mortar casino industry. It has in fact enhanced them and enhanced their business, both from a revenue perspective and from the experience that they're providing to their customers each and every day. So where do we hit from here? We have a lot of work to do. The first and I think most important thing, and I know I come at this from the perspective of a former governor, but we need to keep the federal government out of this business. Gotta keep them out. When you're looking at Washington, D.C. right now, do you think anything would be improved by the involvement of Washington, D.C.? I don't care whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, or completely agnostic. I think one thing we can all agree on is that getting Washington involved in anything that really matters right now is an absolute loser. And certainly we don't want them involved in this industry. So how do we avoid it? How do we avoid that? The only way to avoid it is rigorous, responsible state regulation. As I travel around the country talking about this issue, I tell state legislators and governors all the time, you are the only one who can screw this up. This thing is on a path to expansion, explosion, and great revenue and great opportunities for everybody involved. But you're the ones who can screw it up. One scandal that brings its origin back to lax regulation will be the invitation that the federal government needs to get into this business. And so for those of you in this audience today who are part of the regulatory bodies in this country, the successful growth of sports betting is on you. If you responsibly, reasonably regulate the industry to enhance growth and prevent scandal, the federal government will never have a talking point, an excuse to get into this business. Do we really think the equivalent of the SEC or the FTC is needed for sports gaming? Do we really think that somehow it would be better off if you had to deal with federal regulators? Any business people out there who have to deal with the EPA, do you think it would be really great to have an EPA-style regulatory body to regulate what happens here? In fact, we know for the years under Governor Sandoval here, this industry continued a tradition in Nevada of being regulated responsibly, reasonably, and led to great success across this state. I would argue the same happened in New Jersey. And we've dealt with the explosion of sports gaming in New Jersey without one problem. Not one. And it has been an enormous amount of revenue that's being gambled every month. In fact, New Jersey now has more revenue in sports gaming per month than this state does. Why? We'll get into that in a second. But I would tell you that New Jersey is the test case for all the other states about how you can do this and do it well, do it responsibly, and outstrip every revenue projection we had. We projected, while we were going through the case, that there'd be about, in the first year, 1 billion or so, 1.5 billion or so bet in New Jersey in the first year. That more than doubled in the first year. And our regulatory body, the Division of Gaming Enforcement, was ready for it and was able to regulate it in an appropriate way. We've shown the rest of the country exactly how to do this. And we've done it in great partnership with this state, making sure that we are communicating with each other, working together as the two leading states in gaming, as we have been for the last 40 years. Now, how can we provide that model and try to ensure that model is followed across the rest of the country? Well, first of all, you should need a whole lot more proof than the success that you see here and the success that you see in New Jersey with very similar regulatory schemes. What do I mean? Let's take a state that's really screwed it up. Pennsylvania. I mean a rolling dumpster fire. Sports gaming in Pennsylvania. They did all the wrong things. Ridiculously high tax rate, ridiculously high barrier to entry. And what do you have? You have every Saturday and Sunday this fall, people from Pennsylvania driving into New Jersey, sitting at our rest stops on their mobile phones, placing their sports bets, and then driving back home to Pennsylvania. Because there's no real availability of sports gaming in Pennsylvania, even though it's legal. Because they did all the wrong things. What are the right things? First, set a reasonable tax rate. Remember something. In sports gaming, the margins are not nearly as large as other forms of gaming. You cannot tax this unreasonably. If you do, smart business people in the gaming industry will say, no, thank you. We don't need to do it in your state. We'll pass. And that's what's happening in Pennsylvania. Secondly, no ridiculous licensing fees. You know, politicians see this all the time. They see, you know, the potential golden egg they can grab up front and try to put forward some huge licensing fee number. That is an enormous barrier to entry. Again, with a lower margin product, you cannot put enormous upfront costs there. If you do, they won't come. It's the opposite of Field of Dreams. If you do that, they won't come. And you've got to be ready for that and understand you can't get a third. And this is just as important as the first two. Mobile is the future. I'll just tell you about my 26-year-old son. My 26-year-old son does not carry this. He never carries cash. In fact, he told me a story recently that he went to a wedding of one of his friends, drove to the wedding, dropped the car off at the front of the country club, the valet took it. When he left at the end of the wedding, the valet brought it around and he said, "What's your Venmo account?" And the valet's like, "What's Venmo?" I have no idea. He goes, "Well, I don't carry cash, so I want to tip you." They do not carry cash. They do everything digitally in their lives. They know no other way. They do their banking digitally. They don't have ATM cards. They use a debit card. They have Apple Pay. They use Venmo to do their banking. They do not carry cash. They do not have checks. And if you don't make mobile easy and accessible, they will not bet. They just won't. I mean, another example in New Jersey, we put no barriers up for mobile participation except this one, which was to protect our brick and mortar casinos. If you wanted to run a mobile sports gaming operation, you needed to partner with an existing casino licensee. That way, we made sure that our existing casino licensees who had invested billions of dollars in Atlantic City over 40 years were going to be in this for sure. And they were going to have access to some great new cutting-edge technology if they didn't want to develop it themselves. That's the way to protect your brick and mortar casinos, is to mandate that they're partners with anybody who wants to do this from a mobile perspective. Secondly, don't put up these artificial barriers to having access to this on your phone. Don't make someone go to a casino to sign up. Don't make somebody go to a casino to collect their winnings. Let me tell you what will happen. They won't use your product. Most especially the millennial generation, which is the one we should be most concerned with capturing with this. That's the future of this industry. I will tell you what my son and his friends do during the NCAA basketball tournament last year, what they do on football weekends. They all live in New York City. They all live and work in New York City. They get on the PATH train in New York City. They take it to Hoboken, New Jersey. They go to sports bars in Hoboken because when they go there, they can bet. And you know what these sports bars are doing now? Enhanced free Wi-Fi. And they advertise it to draw them in addition to the big screen TVs and all the games and all the rest. They know that one of the reasons they're coming from New York City to New Jersey is to be able to use their mobile devices to be able to bet on the games in real time. Not just on the outcome of the game, but they're betting throughout the game. With all the different options that the industry is now allowing its technology to provide, there's not just game betting, there's in-game betting, as you know. And these young people love it. They love it, and if we do things like Respectfully We're Done in Illinois, where they put the mobile industry in the penalty box for 18 months, well, I'm telling you, what all they're gonna gain out of that is 18 months of less revenue, 18 months of less participation. And 18 months from now, I am willing to bet any of you that Illinois will change that law and will regret the fact that they had 18 months of these artificial barriers, or in their case, prohibition from mobile being involved in an easy way. In the end, this industry has always succeeded because it's been on the cutting edge of technology. It's been on the cutting edge of whatever part of this business we're talking about, we've always been on the edge, the front edge, the cutting edge of that technology. We have to make sure that when we get in this industry, which has its roots in the old way of doing business, that we don't allow ourselves to be wed to those old-time roots, that we put ourselves forward. Because if we do, the growth in this industry will be extraordinary. I think you've just seen the tip of the iceberg. And as a former governor who was always searching for revenue, I can tell you that other governors across the country who don't yet have it will be looking for it. And their constituents will enjoy the experience if we make it easy for them. And we need to make it easy for them. Now, of course, we have to have all the right type of responsible safeguards on there that need to be done to make sure people understand that what's happening and that their betting is being done in a fair and even way. But that's us complying with the regulators and making sure that we're doing it the right way. Let's also remember that as this industry progresses, by being on the edge of this technology now, by allowing our industry leaders to go there, not only with the permission of government, but the encouragement of government, they're going to make sure that they are continuing on the cutting edge of technology, whatever the next wave is going to be, we know it will be, just don't know what it will be, but we know it will change. Fact is that that will make us even a better candidate for growth in an economy, whether it's expanding or whether it's contracting. So the idea that sports has been one of the truly recession-proof industries in this country, that people have always found a way, whether we were in recession or great growth or somewhere in between, to be able to have money to spend on enjoying sports in this country. If we make it easy, they'll make sports gaming a part of that budget as well, no matter where we are in the economic continuum at the time. But we gotta be open-minded about it. We can't allow the same people who made the myths about fight I talked about in the beginning, who said we couldn't win. I can't tell you how many people told me I was nuts. That the millions of dollars we were spending on legal fees were being thrown away, and that we'd never win. And there's no way you can beat the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball, and the NHL and the NCAA. Well, they were wrong. And they were wrong, let's never forget why they were wrong. They were wrong because we were right. Right about the underlying issue. Right about the fact that the people of this country have a right to determine for themselves what happens inside the borders of their state. And we've seen it with lots of other things as well. Sports gaming should be no different, and now is no different. In the end, this was a states' rights issue. And the rights of the people in those states to determine how they wanted to do their business. And now we have the opportunity to turn it into both an entertainment engine and an economic engine for the states that decide to go into it. Lastly, no state has to do it if they don't want to. I mean, that's the beauty of this. If your state doesn't want to have sports gaming, your state doesn't have to have it. This is about freedom of choice, not about mandating anything on any group of citizens in any state in this country. You don't want it? Don't vote for it. Don't let your legislatures vote for it. Don't let your governors sign it. But you should have the choice yourselves about exactly what to do. That's why I fought the fight that we fought. It's because I truly believe that the people of each individual state should have the right to make those decisions on their own. And for all of you, that now presents an enormous opportunity. I want to see us take advantage of that opportunity in an aggressive, smart, responsible way. In the end, I don't want to have fought this fight for 6 years and have it turn into be something bad. And there's no reason it should. We have every opportunity to make it something great for our country and great for those citizens who enjoy these games. But that's up to us in this room. In this room, at this convention this week, are the leaders of this industry. And we will determine the success or failure of this enterprise. What New Jersey did through our legal fight was give you the opportunity. Now, we get to sit back and watch what you're going to do with that opportunity. I came out here this week because I wanted you to know that as the person who had the great honor and privilege of leading the fight, that I'm counting on you now. I'm out of office. Not a damn thing I can do about it anymore. You all have the authority, the power, and the know-how to take this to the next level. And I'm counting on you doing it. One of the things you always worry about in public life is that you'll do something that will create unintended consequences. You're never concerned about the consequences you anticipate. It's always the truck that's coming from the other direction that you didn't see that you worry about. Do me a favor, as the nice, congenial guy I am from New Jersey, don't let me get hit by the truck, okay? Don't let any of you get hit by the truck. Let's look at the opportunity. Let's make it happen for this industry and for the people across this country who want to have the freedom and the enjoyment of betting on the sports that we all get to watch and enjoy every day in this country. So I'm going to leave the rest of this time for you to ask me questions about whatever you want. I really do mean whatever you want. Whatever is on your mind, I'm happy to answer those questions. There are microphones on either side here where you can go up, and I'll alternate between the two microphones and try to answer your questions. And in fact, given that I'm no longer in office, you have a better than 50-50 chance that I'll actually answer the question. So this is really good. This is a very unusual moment. Sir.
Governor Christie, Patrick Everson with Covers.com. Wanted to get what you made of the league fight against New Jersey and the millions of dollars it cost you in the current lawsuit you're trying to recoup, which I think is dead on, followed by kind of the dichotomy of now the leagues want a piece of this, whether it's an integrity fee or a rights fee or whatever they want to call it. What do you make of that dichotomy?
Well, listen, I thought the leagues were dead wrong right from the beginning, and I thought worse than being dead wrong, they were hypocritical about it, as I mentioned a little bit alluded to before. What I'd say first on the lawsuit that's going on now to recoup those costs, these folks knew all these arguments in the leagues beforehand, and they decided to go ahead and continue to try to say that the state wouldn't have a right to regulate an industry like this one in their state, even though in our state and many others are already doing it. I think there's great possibilities for that lawsuit. Now remember too, we're in a country that is not a loser pays country on legal fees. So I'm not saying this is a slam dunk winner, it's not, but I think it's an important principle. Now let's get to the other part. Let's start off with the integrity fee for this. They want a fee, they want a piece of the action to ensure the integrity of the games. Here's my answer to that. I'm willing to pay them the exact integrity fee that they were getting paid by this state for the last 70 years, which is zero. Now, if betting on sports in Nevada did not impact the integrity of the game, then why in other states would it do that? I think an integrity fee is a wrong-headed idea, and I think any state that gives into that is giving into extortion. And we shouldn't be in the business of giving into extortion. So, secondly, on any rights fees or anything, I have no problem with that as long as they are arm's-length business transactions that are not mandated by the government. If one of our casino partners decides that there is something valuable to them in whether it's getting statistics directly from the leagues, whether it's being able to use their trademarks and all the rest, I have no problem with that as long as it's an arm's-length business transaction. But if I, as the government, say to our casino partners, you must pay a rights fee, you must pay a statistical fee, then it's no longer an arm's-length transaction. Then I give the leagues a mask and a gun. Coming from New Jersey, I know how effective a mask and a gun can be. All right, so that's where I draw the line. I think rights fees, as long as they're part of a normal business relationship between the leagues and the gaming operators, that's fine. But if it's mandated by the government in the same way as an integrity fee, to me that's wrong. If they have something of value that they can sell, then let them sell it. And let them sell it at a price that the market will bear. The government should not be involved in controlling, mandating that market. The leagues had an opportunity very early on to come to a settlement with me. And maybe to avoid all those costs, I might have been willing to agree at that time to an integrity fee or to some rights fee as part of our law. If we had done that in New Jersey, that might have become the model for the rest of the country. They decided, since we're in Vegas, to roll the dice. They rolled the dice and they lost. And we should not reward them for doing that. Nor should we penalize them by saying, no, you should never have to pay a rights fee or a trademark fee. That should be an operation of the market, not an operation of government, in my view.
Thanks, Governor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Cordula for Hospitality. My question is about esports and video game betting, which seems to be going in the same direction as traditional sports betting. What do you think about this as an opportunity to capture an audience, especially millennials and Gen Z, who aren't participating as much in traditional casino gaming?
Well, here's something I completely don't understand, right? I have to tell you, I'm too old now to understand this whole esports thing and people watching other people play what I would call video games, right? I don't get this, but I am willing to tumble to the fact that I don't get it and that there is a real significant audience in this country and around the world for this. So my position would be that people should have the freedom to do that as long as we regulate those industries for integrity in the very same way we regulate the gaming industry and the rest of the sports industry for integrity. Because in the end, what will undercut our argument here is if people feel like they're being taken, if they think something's fixed. And so to me, those sports, the esports, should be absolutely regulated in the same way that all the major sports leagues are and the way that the gaming industry is. If you do that, I have no problem with doing it. I'm never going to bet on that as a matter of principle, but that's okay. That's because I'm old and I don't get it. But I'm sure that my kids probably will. And that's the key. It's again about what I was saying earlier. We need to be at the front of this technology. We need to be at the front of the cultural trends and make sure that we're providing people entertainment options. We're an entertainment industry. And that's what we should be doing. So I have no problem with it, but I also have to confess I have absolutely no understanding of it either and don't know why you would do it, but hey, if there are people out there who want to do it, as long as it's regulated and the integrity is there, I'm okay with it. Other questions from anybody?
Hi, Governor. Jessica Wellman with Pennsylvania. You mentioned the Pennsylvania gaming situation and what they've done wrong. I think the industry agrees that it's not a viable, sustainable, profitable place, but at the same time, at the end of the day, 12 or 13 casinos in the state are going to pay this $10 million fee. And everybody does seem to be getting in there even though it's expensive to them. At what point do you think the state's desire for upfront fees and high tax rates will actually keep people out of the state?
Listen, I didn't look at the failure of the system in Pennsylvania bringing out the type of revenue that we generated in New Jersey, for instance, with significantly more citizens in the state of Pennsylvania. It's preventing the industry from making things broadly available. And so I think there's two different ways. So some that will just, if the fees get that high, they just won't play at all. But then there's also the part where it says that the industry won't make the investments that are necessary to be able to maximize the revenue possibilities. I don't know what those numbers are, but you know they're there. And Pennsylvania is the greatest example in the country right now. There's no reason why they should have been way out front on this and creating the kind of revenue and more, quite frankly, than New Jersey is, just based on the numbers. When you have people, if you look at any of these geolocation maps that the regulators have of the hotspots of where people are betting on mobile devices, why on Saturdays and Sundays do you see such hotspots in places like Cherry Hill, New Jersey? For those of you who know the area, right over the river, the Delaware River from Philadelphia. There's lots of people who just feel like the options that are presented to them in New Jersey are better, are more user-friendly, and more entertaining than what's being offered to them in Pennsylvania. Now, Pennsylvania will come around eventually because they're seeing it. But there's no reason for us to retard growth that way in the same way Illinois is retarding growth in that way. So I don't know what the actual numbers are, but it's like, you know it when you see it and you feel it because the industry reacts to it. And they've been reluctant. They're coming to Pennsylvania, but they've been slow to come to Pennsylvania. You saw what happened in New Jersey in the first week. The thing exploded and has been going like gangbusters ever since. And that's the difference. That should be the model of what we want this to be, not the kind of drag people ultimately to the party. We want people to the party willingly. Welcome.
I'm Brendan, USBest.com. I'm curious, I know you kind of enjoyed this 6-year legal fight that in spite of all those losses you mentioned, we won in the end. And obviously you draw a nice crowd here, another gaming industry event. I wonder if you thought of taking a full-time job in the gaming industry?
I didn't. I don't want a full-time job anywhere, man. Because being governor of Jersey, as you know, John, was like 3 full-time jobs at the same time. So no, I'm enjoying helping the industry in the ways that I can because of the experience I have and the expertise that I've been able to develop because of my involvement in New Jersey as governor for 8 years. But yeah, no, I've had opportunity and I've not taken it because I'm following a different model. And that model allows me, for the first time in 15 years, so I spent 7 years as a U.S. attorney, 8 years as governor, to actually make some money and to spend a little bit more time with my family than I got to over the last 15 years. So this is the model I'm following now. But, you know, John, if you have any references, I'm always willing to listen. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Governor. My name is Ernie Stevens. I'm an Oneida Nation member from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I don't know if anybody ever heard of it.
No, never heard of Green Bay.
Sorry. But I now represent the National Indian Gaming Association based in Washington, D.C. We want to thank you for your leadership in the American Gaming Association. We work side by side with them on these issues because as good sovereign governments, we want opportunities to move our communities forward. So we want to say that and thank the AGA, thank you for your leadership on this. And I want to assure you that as we go forward, the regulatory side, the honorable side of this industry has always been our #1 priority. We will not let you get hit by a truck. We will not throw you under the bus. And we want to build this industry for fair and equitable to all people in any country and throughout. With 300,000 plus direct jobs, and that number doubles when you consider the offshoot. EDK is doing a lot of great things in sports betting and other aspects. We're going to continue to grow our industry. But as you can see, some of these rough and tough years we've been through in the past, our jobs, our promotion, our dollars have done a lot of great things for the industry. We ask to you, sir, because of the things you've done on this industry to help us continue to grow as sovereign governments into this world we call sports betting and, more importantly, tribal government game.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And I think what those sovereign governments have contributed to the industry has been incredibly important. And I think it's also an important thing for the American government and the American people to be supporting it in that way. I think members of tribes all across this country deserve to have the opportunity to be economically successful and self-sustaining. And games are one of those things that has permitted these tribes to be that way. And in fact, some of these tribal organizations are the most successful, as you know, in gaming across the entire country. I encourage you to keep doing it, and as we enter this new area, to continue to conduct yourselves in the ways that you always have, which is to put the integrity of the process first, and the entertainment of the people who come to your places right up at the front as well. If you do that, everyone's going to win it.
Thank you, Governor. Our regulators, our tribal leaders, chiefs, and on-the-ground, hard-working people from every aspect are all here with us today. Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you.
Governor, I'm going to follow. I want to make sure everybody else got their questions in. But kind of tangentially related to my first question, a little follow-up. I feel like what the leagues may be going for long-term is the federal regulation and legislation that you argued against early in the keynote speech. Do you think that's what they're aiming for, and how important is it to impress upon the leagues, and especially legislators and regulators, and especially the state level, to do this right, so that doesn't come down the pipe in Congress or from federal government agencies?
Sure, that gives them another bite at the apple with an organization that wasn't hurt by their irresponsible legal conduct. Right? I mean, the federal government had no involvement in any of that. It was the states that were hurt by that. And the leagues, I'm confident, would love to have another bite at that apple, to have a do-over. Think about it when you were a kid. Whenever you lost, you always wanted to have the opportunity for the do-over. I mean, they lost and lost big. And their arrogance in that regard, has made it really difficult for a lot of the states to trust what they tell them on this issue. We don't want the federal government to be involved. In addition, they've never done this before. I mean, the federal government's never regulated gaming. So what the heck do they know about it? I mean, what regulators in this state have forgotten about gaming regulations more than the federal government knows. And so, there's no reason to do it, but do I think that that's part of the motivation? Sure. Because we saw them up there when they saw the court case going sideways from December to May when it actually was issued. Because they knew in December, everybody sitting in that courtroom knew which way it was going. And from December to May, you saw them trying to do things with legislation being introduced at the federal level, et cetera, to try to cut it off before the Supreme Court even did what they did. So there's no doubt that there's a motivation in that regard. That's why I don't want us to be adversarial with them any longer. There's no need for us to be adversarial with them on the business side of this. If they have product and intellectual property that is valuable to the people who are running sports gaming in the individual states, then let them bargain with those people and get paid for it. That's the American way. But they don't deserve an insurance policy on top of it. So if any one of the gaming companies were to say, we're not interested, well, now we're going to have the government's mandate that you be interested. That's what I want to avoid. The underlying business relationship between the leagues, you see it happening every day in different ways with different gaming companies. I have no problem with that relationship, as long as that relationship is the product of an arm's length business transaction that responsible businessmen and women come to because they believe it's the best interest of their shareholders, their owners, their members, and the citizens of the country. I think I'm fine with a free market. I just don't want a market where the government mandates that the people who sued us and lost, now we mandate that they get paid for their trouble. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm a little simple, but I think it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Thank you, Governor.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Governor. We were talking about mobile technology. Electronic technology is the key to the future. With cryptocurrency, have we even considered getting into it? Now it's being able to trace the funds and everything. Could we possibly put it in sports betting and online gambling?
Listen, that's another one of those topics that I don't know enough about on cryptocurrency to really intelligently speak about its role potentially in sports gaming. It's obviously something the government is confronting, is going to have to confront in the near future.
Industry.
Yeah, and so we're going to have to confront it. But I give an opinion. I'm reluctant to give an opinion because I don't know enough about it to be able to give you a responsible one. So I'll take a pass because I don't want to sound stupid later.
Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
I'm Mark Mustigo, former Republican elected official in Pennsylvania, now a newly appointed commissioner of the Gaming Board. I just wanted to thank you for your fight because it's enabled a lot of Pennsylvania residents to participate in sports betting legally without having to make good the expense to travel to another state, including the state of Jersey.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's right.
We miss you. We miss you. When you open casinos, we miss you too. But listen, that's what the industry should be all about. It should be about they're having the kind of competition that makes this an available entertainment option for people no matter where they live if the people of their states want that entertainment option. And so, for folks in New Jersey, well, we had a monopoly for, 30 years or so, thereabouts. That was great for New Jersey, but not so great necessarily for other people around the country. I'm not somebody who believes that monopolies are a good thing. Even though there's been a lot of revenue to my state during those periods of time, it's not a sustainable model. So what I want each state to be able to do is to figure out what's the best type of regulatory scheme for the people of their state to ensure availability, ease of use, and integrity. And if those are the three things that are our guide points for how we regulate sports gaming going forward, I think it will both be successful and beyond question in terms of its integrity. And those are the two things that people who are going to go on their mobile devices or walk into a sports book are going to want. They're going to want to believe that at least they've got a shot to win that's a fair and even shot. And unlike on the offshore stuff or some of the stuff with organized crime, that they know they're going to get paid. And that's important too. Any more questions? Okay. They're giving me, see, when you're from New Jersey, you understand it's even better. They're going like this. Now, in New Jersey, that's a threat, okay? That's a threat in New Jersey. Maybe in other parts of the country, that means wrap it up. But in New Jersey, that means I'm going to kill you, okay? So please, when you have New Jersey speakers up here, be sensitive to those type of things. Maybe do this or something like that. It'd be just better. I don't know if you have anybody else from New Jersey speaking here, but if you do, and you do that to them, they're going to run out the back of the stage and leave. I want to thank AGA for inviting me to come out here. I want to thank all of you for what you're doing to make the industry as great as it is. And I absolutely believe, as I follow the numbers state by state every month and see the expansion of this, that the fight that we fought for 6 years in our state with the money of our citizens was put to good use, not only for the people of New Jersey, but for the people of the entire country. So thanks for having me today. I appreciate it very much.
This was one of the most interesting keynotes that I have seen at the Global Gaming Expo, and I hope that the American Gaming Association will continue to pick keynote speakers that talk about some aspect of the industry in future expos. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe so you won't miss a video, and visit our website to learn more about slots and casinos. If you like this video, please give it a like, and we'll also answer your questions and comments.